So my name is Kalie Work, as Ginger said. I'm so grateful you guys invited me here tonight. I had no idea you meet regularly with this group, and I think that's terrific. I understand that there's investors in the room, maybe folks from title and escrow, real estate agents. Is that kind of sound right?
Yes, I think you captured us all.
Okay. Okay.
Before you switch the slide, let me just get a picture of you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I want to get that in the background. Perfect, thank you.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, just like you just said,
Down, the down arrow back. I already
all right,
did.
here we go. Is everyone familiar with the recorder's office? Yes. Yes. Will anyone say no? All right, so I'll share a little bit, just a couple seconds about what the recorder's office does. Mostly property related, so I'll get to that in just a moment. I'll touch on the reporting process because I definitely understand from the normal person's perspective, once documents hit the recorder's office, it seems like there might be a black hole. You don't know until a document is on record until you hear that that stamp of approval has been given. So I'll share a little bit about the process that our department works through. And then I will go right into some statistics showing a brief history of the last few years. And then we'll close out with an update on a newly launched program called Reporting Notification Forms. So we'll get right into it. So the recorder's office is one of 20 or so departments at Washoe County. I have a team of 24 employees, and I am now serving in my 5th year, so my 2nd term as your recorder. Ironically, it is an elected position, similar with the treasurer, the clerk, and those other county official departments. We are on the ballot essentially at the same time. And so we just went through that again in November. And so here we are starting the 2nd term. During the 1st term, we spent a lot of time on some new projects that would innovate us and kind of get us up to where we are now. Things like digitizing our property database. We didn't have that 5 years ago. And so we spent a lot of time during our downtime in COVID, and we were able to have a vendor scan essentially and give you digital access to our entire history of property documents within Washoe County. And that dates back to the 1800s. So we were thrilled to do that. It also helps us with our backup system. So it was great for the public and also for us. But you'll see on the board here, we have, of course, our mission is to preserve our records indefinitely. And then what I like to say is I like to bucket what we do in 4 distinct categories or 4 pillars. And that has to do with those items that you see there in bold. So things like security, innovation, accessibility, and excellent public service. That's what we kind of wrap our arms around in our office when we make project decisions and things like that that are just kind of outside of the day-to-day. So I always tell my staff, you should be thinking 10 years out and start working back. How will this industry evolve in 10 years? And how are we going to match the public with what they need? So overall, ultimately, my goal as a reporter is how do we make it easy to do business? And I hope you can kind of see that theme in the last 5 years that I've been here is we're trying to make our office more accessible to the public. And there's different examples that we can give on that, but I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. But this is kind of a one-slider on the what and the why we do it. And so the reporting process, when you go and buy a home, you know, those documents go through underwriting after you work with your real estate agent or you're selling a home and you work with title and escrow. There's that underwriting process. Typically takes what, 45 days? Does that sound right?
Yeah, 30 to 45.
30 to 45 days. Okay. So the last step, your client will go in and sign their package, right? A title to make sure that everything looks correct. They sign, I don't know, that packet of 100 or so documents, and then they send it over to us, the pieces that we need to go on record. I am really proud that we can almost turn those around the same day. So from start to finish. But what happens when it comes to our office? For the most part, they're submitted to us electronically. If you've been in this industry for a while, you may remember the hand delivery of just the big stacks of packages. And there used to be runners for that in our department that would sit and wait for hours. And we had a whole room back in the day before I got there, just dedicated to scanning those documents and then putting them on record. So it used to be extremely timely. We're a lot more efficient. But our workflow remains the same. So now that those records, like I said, most often 80% of the time reach us digitally, we go and do our e-reporting process. So we like to make sure that the incoming package meets all of our reporting requirements. Did the grantor sign this package? Is the grantor's name printed out? Is the grantee there? Is there an APN listed on the document? Is the tax statement mailing address on the document? Those are things that we're required to look at before we put anything on record. And that's statutory. We don't make up our requirements. So they're consistent in all counties in Nevada. So we go through that e-reporting process, and then we essentially will accept that package. But we like the content of it. We don't review the fine print, but we just make sure it has all those reporting requirements. And if it does, it goes to the next step. That's redaction. So we have an individual in our office who will go and redact any social security numbers, any bank account numbers or PINs, things that, again, statutorily should be redacted from public record. From there, it goes to indexing. Indexing is exactly how it sounds. It's like a very manual data entry process, where my staff is hand typing the grantor, the grantee, the APN, things that are necessary for you to search those records later on. And so, again, manual. I do think with all the new AI components coming out, that might change pretty drastically in the coming years. So we'll keep our eye on that. After your package is indexed, we then have a verifier go through and make sure we didn't. And then we give a final stamp on that document, and essentially it's recorded. And like I said, we do all of those steps typically same day. That doesn't happen in every county. We kind of pride ourselves on it. And so I just, huge kudos to my team. I think they've done a really good job, and we fine-tuned the workflow a lot over the last few years. And so once we went ahead and recorded that document, again, it is preserved entirely. And you, your client's neighbor, anyone can look up those documents because they are public. So don't ever have anything recorded if it's not meant to be public. We try to catch those though. They are. All right. So I talked about reporting requirements. I don't know if this is interesting to any of you, but this is kind of the top list of those items I mentioned earlier that are in statute that we must ensure are captured on those documents. Before we get to the statistics, I didn't mention everything we do in our office. The majority of our office is property related. So any of those property related documents, deeds of trust, liens, we have financing documents, refinance documents that come to our office. We also record marriages. And so if you're getting married in Washoe County, we go ahead and record your marriage certificate in our office. And so we hold, again, those documents.
Will the other counties do that too?
They do, yes. Clark County is the only unique county in the state of Nevada. Their clerk actually reports their marriage certificates. But yeah, the rest of us do that at the reporter level. So that brings me, and I say that because when we have your marriage certificate, typically you'll need a copy eventually of your marriage certificate, especially if you're changing your name as part of your marriage. So we produce a lot of copies of the records that we hold. And believe it or not, a lot of our customers are not even necessarily Nevadans. Historically, we've had more people year over year over year get married in Reno from California than Nevadans. So oftentimes our phone is ringing off the hook and we answer it, and most likely we're producing a copy of someone's marriage map that came over to beautiful Lake Tahoe. So that's a small part of our department, but it keeps us very, very busy on the other side. So with that being said, I'll go ahead and dive into the stats because you'll see some of the marriage stuff there too. So we just, in Washoe County, we just finished up our fiscal year. So this is fiscal year data ending in June. We did around 87,000 recordings last fiscal year. That looks like a big number, and it is. But the year prior, we did about 140,000. So we have slowed down. I know the industry is feeling that. And we don't just do deeds. We put a lot of things on record, but we are feeling it as well. So during COVID, we all had a slow, we all stopped during the first few months of COVID, but right after that, we ramped up. So we had almost 20-year high for how many documents we put on record for 2 whole years. And now it's starting to level out for us. So now we're kind of at a 25-year low based on what we did this last fiscal year. So my team was pinched, working during the last couple of years. And of course, we're starting to see this get down. But I want to show this slide because our stats are really interesting. Even though our total recordings have been on the decline, what we're collecting for RPTT is still pretty high. If you're not familiar with RPTT, that is real property transfer tax. And I'm sure all of you have heard of it. We collect roughly $28 million a year. Pre-COVID was pretty standard. That's pretty high, actually. That tells me that the property values are still pretty high, even though we're not transacting in so many of them, right? It would be great if I told you that all that $28 million came back to Washoe County, but it doesn't. Only about 1% of it actually stays within our general fund. The majority goes to the state of Nevada. So we collect on behalf of taxation, and that's at each of it. There's a question.
Yeah, sorry, question on the recording. So you mentioned that it's not just real estate transactions. Sorry to clarify these recordings, but would you say that it's primarily real estate transactions that are bringing down like marriage licenses?
Yeah, okay, now we're on another all-time low. Here, check this out. And I keep saying that, but we really are. It's been wild in my office.
No one's getting married.
No one's getting married anymore, or they're staying in their own counties to get married. And so I have data on that here in a moment.
So everything's going.
Everything's going down.
Okay,
Marriages have been going down in Washoe for a long time. So that's not a huge contributor to our recordings.
I think divorces are up.
cool. Yeah.
And of course, at $3 million for our recording fees, that does stay here, but that's that $43 flat fee that you would pay for everything from a deed to a homestead form. That's our flat recording fee. Copies, I told you our phone rings off the hook. In Purdue, we take about 60, 70 phone calls a day. Most of those are document related. I need to request a copy due to XYZ. Employer benefits, social security, there could be all sorts of things. So I think I covered this one. You want to see kind of a month by month, and I've referenced the last few years a lot, and I realize that. Here in yellow, you're going to see FY21. So that yellow line on the top, I'm telling you, this was a huge year for us in terms of recordings. That's kind of starting in July of 2020. And then we have the green, which was FY22, and the blue, again, just completes this last fiscal year for us. So we were really busy, really flattened out. Probably started only summer of last year. So you might be asking me, where can you get your hands on this data? And that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked. We just launched this page a couple months ago. because we should share our statistics. And a couple people in the industry were asking me, they're like, hey, you talk about all this data, where can I get it? I said, well, I've been hiding it from everyone. So we created this. We have a stats page. Ginger, you were on the assessor's office website earlier. Again, washoecounty.gov/recorder, and you'll see our stats page. Just scroll down. It's also embedded here in the PowerPoint as well. You can mess around and drill down to what type of documents. All right, and that brings me here to my last topic on our reporting notification service. A reporting notification service is a free alert system, just like you would set up with your bank or anyone else. It'll alert you each time there's a record recorded in my office. Again, mostly property related, but wouldn't you like to know if there's something going on and you didn't know about it? And so it's very easy to register. You put in your name, your email, your APN. So as investors, you might own multiple properties. This is a good opportunity for you to link all your properties into your one email account. And again, anything going forward that is reported in my office, you'll be alerted through an automated email same day. I have it linked on this slide. And I also have flyers in the back with a QR code on it. It's really easy to use. Yes.
Is that unique to Washoe County or is every county have that?
It is, this one is unique to Washoe County. Both Clark County and I collaborated to launch at the same time. We try to do this whole marketing thing around it. So we launched the same time last January. But we are up to, I think, 11 counties in Nevada that have their own version of this. So if you have properties in different counties, I would sign up. I would check with those county reporters and sign up for each one of them.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. All right, so does that make sense or yeah. Okay. All right, well, I think that's it. So I'll go ahead. Like I said, there's this flyer on the back. It has a great QR code on it. And I can pass those around. You can do it from your phone or at home, but it's trying to make it simple to register. All right, so that's what I have for you today. Can I take questions? Yes.
You guys ever record data statistics separating out like commercial versus residential kind of stuff or anything like that?
I don't have, that's a great question. The question was around separating data between commercial and real property. And no, residential, I don't have that separation. I think the best I can do is by document type, but that might not help. Yes.
So sometimes looking at a property, it doesn't have the purchase price. So is that up to the buyer to talk with you or the title to say, we don't want that public to be public information?
Is that on the assessor's website? It might be the assessor's website. One thing I didn't mention about, okay, I'm going to geek out for a minute, but our new reporting alert system, when you get alerted in that automated email, there's actually a link in that email that takes you directly to the page that was reported. And so it'll show exactly why it was flagged as you. If you were a John Smith, I am sorry though, I don't know how many John Smith emails you might get. That's the one caveat. You have a very common name. But that's why I recommend put your APN number, your assessor's personal on there too. And again, that you can go ahead and click the hyperlink in the email and it'll take you right to our search and filtering page where you can see exactly what was reported. I even had my own scare a couple of months ago because I got an alert and here I was sitting at the office and I had an alert on my phone go off and I'm like, what is that? What was recorded with my name? And it was I knew about it, I just forgot about it. It's my official oath, but it was great. It was a great way to make sure it worked.
Have you guys had any, and I don't know if you would be able to answer this, but I know title has been having a lot of land trying to pass through people's hands. Have you guys had any that have recorded and got past title, you know, when they're doing their searches where someone actually, an exchange happens that shouldn't have, or I don't know if you guys would know that or
No,
not.
I don't know that.
Okay.
I've been hearing of the examples, a couple
Yeah.
that have been caught. I mean, days before it would have ended up in my office.
Yeah,
If it looks right and it smells right, it will probably get reported.
yeah,
And that's why I really encourage folks to sign up for something like this. Even if there is a fraudulent document that gets reported, knowing about it is better than not knowing about it until it's too late.
yeah. And I think land is more common, and a lot of people sell land and buy land outside of title, which is a huge mistake. Because they don't think that, oh, well, I don't need to, you know, whatever they're thinking, but I think a lot of that happens outside of title, so they're just going and reporting, you know.
And properties that are deed off are also kind of more vulnerable to that. And it's something we're kind of all on alert of. It's not specific to Nevada, but it sounds like it's happening.
What kind of work are you guys doing with other counties? Washoe County's bounds ahead of the system online. I know they have their own stuff as far as costs, budget, all those things. I mean, do you see them coming to you? Because I feel like even in other states, Washoe County really is leaps and bounds and plotting, because it's been impressive. There's so much information. It's incredible. It's so. Also, I guess my question is,
Yeah.
counties and kind of come to you like, hey, how can we implement this within the next 5 years? kind of
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that comment. We are doing a really good job. You have a really strong reporter network in Nevada. We meet up twice a year. We aim for consistency first and foremost, especially, you know, things impacting the public. So we try to make sure that we are all very consistent on the matters that are important. Things like extra project work. I know the rural areas are really challenged by budget. So they have a lot more budget constraints than a county of our size who are doing more reporting. So then we have more access to funds. So we try to stay in sync. A really great example of us working together was that reporting notification service. And it's not perfect, but it's free and it's a start. There's 11 of us now, and none of our counties had that 5 years ago. So that's kind of an area where we've all kind of pulled together and say, hey, if we have the ability to do this, we should be doing this out of our own budgets. So I think we'll see more counties come along in the future.
I'm just asking now, so.
Are there any surveyors in the room or?
Not today, we have a couple that come periodically.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for passing it out.
And then, did you want to say anything about reporting homesteads or?
Yes, okay, so there was possible interest in reporting homesteads. I left some forms in the back of the room. It's a very simple form to fill out. You do have to have it notarized, and then you can bring it into our office. Also, I didn't get into this in my presentation, but we do offer a e-reporting solution for individuals now. Again, the bulk of our documents come in from title and escrow, so they're set up to transact with us remotely anyway. But now the regular person at home can also report from their own home. It's a brand new. We haven't. That's why I asked if there's anyone from kind of land or surveyors in the room, because they're kind of testing out this new model with us now. But you can report a homestead from home. Just visit our website and go to e-reporting page, and there are step-by-step how you can do that. Yes.
What is the advantage or disadvantage of homesteading?
Oh, I don't know that I am the right person to answer that question. I could tell you what the advantages and disadvantages are of reporting a homestead form. I think there are some good advantages to doing it. You would have to read statute to see what some of those limitations are. And I don't know if there's a limitation on number of properties or things like that. That would be in statute.
So it has to be owner occupied, So it has to be the home you live in, can't be an investment property. And I believe it helps you on when you go to sell the property, or sorry, not when you go to sell the property, on your liability. And I'm not a lawyer, but it helps with the maximum, I think it's 500,000 is waived from liability if someone sues you or puts a lien on your property. Am I saying that right? I know I'm kind of jumbling it. If you
Not a
someone-
lawyer either, but that's.
Yeah, someone's gonna say it better than I, but it's online, actually. You can go in and Google homesteading, is it a good idea, and what is it, how does it? So I always think it's a good idea. I mean, an extra layer of protection, why not? I don't think it can hurt you. I haven't read anything that it's a negative at all, so unless it say, give me insight to that. But
When you go in and record a document across the counter,
Yes,
you get a series number then, correct? Series number, the serial.
you should get a document.
Document
number,
number. Is it recorded as of then, or is it recorded as of when it hits the internet after it goes through your next couple of phases?
If you get a document number on there, it's been reported.
Okay, how
So
long does it take for the document to show up online then?
same day. If you're in there before 3 o'clock, it should be there same day.
Okay, so really fast, basically.
Yeah.
It's not like
Yeah.
wait till next week.
Right, and if you're there over the counter and there were any issues with us recording our document, you would know right then and there. They would hand you your original document back with reasons why you can't record. So if you walk out with your original document and with the document number, it's been recorded. Yes,
I think, but it doesn't show up on the assessor's site the same day.
oh,
Is
the
it-
assessor's site, no.
Yeah,
The I don't know.
because I know sometimes, like, we'll look for like sold properties and when does it show up on the assessor, and there's
Yeah.
a lag there, but
Yeah.
on your site, it's recorded.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just,
it'll be. on-
those are not connected.
No, I think there might be a 3 or 4 day lag.
Yeah.
I should double check the time, but there's definitely a lag, because they'll go in and review our documents, and so if the legal description was wrong, they're going to reject it and call you.
Yeah.
And say, hey, this is wrong, you need to fix it. And I don't like when that happens, because then they come to me and say, well, I don't wanna, I don't wanna pay to re-record this, we already accepted it, so we gotta figure out. what to do. We gotta do better. But on our website, it will be accessible online after we go through the redactions. Because we wouldn't want to make anything public that may contain private.
You can say this, so California, everything's private, you can't get that kind of information online. Has there been any discussion about us making it private?
Not that I'm aware of, not at the legislative level. There are certain persons who can request that their address be made confidential, and that is a process that goes through courts. And so if you are working, if your job basically, there's different persons that are listed in the
like
statute.
judges or,
Judges, right, if you're threatened on a regular basis due to the nature of your job, you could petition the court to ensure that your information is private. Doesn't mean the document's not still available, it means your address is redacted and your
Yeah.
phone number. is redacted.
I don't think real estate agents falls into that category.
Should.
But great question. Yeah,
What got you interested, being the county reporter?
that is a great question. I did not have a background in policy or anything. I also was not in the real estate industry. I was in big tech, and I just saw a need in local government, and there was a huge opportunity in this department. Just with kind of how dated some of the resources were, and so I just went all in, and I thought I would, I thought I'd bring some value back to the office.
Sounds like modernization is a common theme you keep mentioning.
Yeah, it is, and we really it took a while. I think kind of going into the office and really seeing what was, what was laid out and how far we had come. you know, and then we jumped in after 1 year, we jumped into COVID. So everything changed, and then we all of a sudden had hybrid schedules and things like that. So we've been really flexible, and I really get to know her.
Does anyone else have any questions? Well, thank you so much for coming. We so appreciate you taking the time out.